This is Brent of the Brookbush Institute, and in this video we're going to discuss tibialis posterior activation progression, specifically the hardest tibialis posterior activation progression I have in my arsenal. Now, when I tried to create this exercise, realized I had three goals. I want to kind of explain how this happened. I wanted to try to find a way to get the line of pull of gravity to line up with the obliquity of the tibialis posterior. So I essentially wanted to be able to resist both plantar flexion and inversion. Second, I wanted to be able to reciprocally inhibit my overactive synergist, just as I do on all of these activation techniques, so that I'm not reinforcing any of the movement dysfunction that's causing the individual's movement impairment or reducing their performance. Third, I wanted to try to take what we're doing at the foot and ankle and integrate it into a commonly used pattern, specifically triple extension in this case, so that we have better carryover to functional activities. Now I'm going to have my friend Melissa come out. She's going to help me demonstrate this exercise. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the tibialis posterior anatomy. The insertion wraps around the medial side of the foot, and then actually the origin is on the lateral side of the tibia. That creates this little diagonal here, this obliquity that comes out this way. So, how am I going to get that obliquity to line up with gravity, which pulls straight down? Well, that's actually fairly easy. All I have to do is have Melissa lean over. All right, so if she leans into a wall, now gravity goes from lateral tibia right over the medial side of the foot. So I have that nice line of pull, and if you guys think about her ankle coming straight up from this position, you can kind of see how not only is plantar flexion now resisted, but inversion as well. And I can stimulate inversion a little bit more by having you bring your foot in so that pinky toe is actually pointing forward. So just a little bit of tibial internal rotation there, guys. Now, step two, reciprocal inhibition of overactive synergists. The overactive synergists for my tibialis posterior are my flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus, i.e. my long toe flexors. If I want to inhibit toe flexors, I should probably just do toe extension, right? So I'm going to lift my toes up, or ask her to lift her toes up. The other thing this does, which is real great for our athletes, is it starts teaching them to drive through the balls or just behind the balls of their feet. Specifically, that first MTP, or just behind that first MTP, just behind the big toe. So as soon as she lifted her toes, she should feel the balls of her feet kind of push into the ground a little bit, which is a lot better than running off the toes, which is going to jack up all of those toe flexors, which we already know are overactive synergists. Third, how do I get that integrated into the performance of the rest of the body? Well, I can definitely add it into my triple extension mechanic. If you think about how she's pushing into the wall, right, I can have her use her glute to extend and even abduct a little bit, right? I want you to actually, we're going to use your forearm here, have you post up against the wall, have this pushing against the wall. This isn't a stability exercise. I don't want her back and forth this way. I don't want her to feel unstable. I want her to feel nice and stable. As she pushes into the wall, she's going to squeeze her glutes, squeeze her quad, right? So now we have that triple extension. And now as soon as I ask her to do a calf raise, we can see that's on a diagonal, but close to the same mechanic she's going to use to either push off and run or do a lateral step if she's, let's say, guarding somebody and has to move laterally, or if she was a basketball player, give a little crossover. All right, so she's going to push up into a calf raise, drive through her glute and her quad, making sure she stays internally rotated a little bit here, and back down. So just getting her to do a calf raise first is the first thing I want to do. Now I'm going to start trying to perfect this a little bit. Make sure that the individual is going into plantar flexion and inversion. What you will find is some individuals will start to collapse. They'll start to let their body rotate in this way. That's what the arm is here for, right? We need to keep her nice and straight this way so that this stays plantar flexion and inversion and doesn't become plantar flexion and eversion as she tries to find a way to kind of get back into this position, which maybe was her compensation pattern. All right, up again, making sure her toes are coming up, or she's at least trying to pull her toes up. Then the other mistake you'll see, although Melissa's being a lot better on this particular take of this video, if she goes up, a lot of people, they'll just flop back down. I like to concentrate on eccentric control, especially since overpronation is a lot of times what I'm using this for, right? Which is the inability to eccentrically control flat-footedness. I want her to go up as high as she can, hold, make sure all this is tight, give her a little posture check at the top, and then a 4-second eccentric. 2, 3, 4. Good. Back up. And then make sure you're staying straight this way. Back down. Now, with this leg, she's being a little lazy. We do have a couple choices with this other leg here. We can either leave it on the floor. If this is the first time maybe I'm doing this progression and I'm progressing from like a 2-footed tibialis posterior activation exercise, then maybe I want her to just, I'm going to give her this kickstand of just allowing the ball of her foot to stay on the floor so that she's not lifting quite so much weight with this leg. That's okay. That's okay. I'm okay with that initially. But then as she gets better, I want her to pull this leg up. I'm even going to have her dorsiflex and invert so that I'm reinforcing triple flexion mechanics on this side, triple extension mechanics on this side. You guys can see how the carryover and transfer would happen there to some of her other athletic activities. Good. Back up and back down. Let's show everybody what it looks like from the other side. Lean over. Oh, good. All right, so she's going to post up against the wall here. Make sure that she's perpendicular to the wall. And I don't want her, what tends to happen to people is they start falling in this way. That's what this arm's for. No need to turn this into a stability exercise. I have other exercises. I have other techniques that I can use to start working on your stability and balance. This is just tibialis posterior activation. Turn this foot in a little bit. All right. Because you're so advanced, we're going to go ahead and lift this leg up, dorsiflex, reinforce that triple flexion mechanic. Let's reinforce this triple extension mechanic. Squeeze your glute, no anterior pelvic tilt, little tuck under if we need to, drawn in, quad tight, drive through the ball of your foot, ankle straight up. All right, so that time you kind of turned out on me and then caved in. So let's step out just a little bit from the wall. Good. Drive into the wall. There you go. Just kind of giving individuals the cue to push a little bit into the wall sometimes helps. Sometimes that'll help get their ankle to go up and out rather than cave in. Good. Use the side. Getting tired? Good deal. All right, so before we wrap this video up, I do want to give you guys a closer look at what's happening to Melissa's feet. So once again, guys, just to go over the position of the feet here, make sure she's slightly internally rotated, pinky toe pointing straight ahead, so we don't need crazy internal rotation, just a little bit. We want toes up, driving through the full ball of the foot, from big toe all the way to little toe. Her just behind the ball of her foot is driven hard into the ground. And then you're going to watch the lateral malleolus to see if it goes up and out just a little bit as we try to stimulate both plantar flexion and inversion to make sure that we are getting as much post-tib activity as we possibly can. So there you go, guys. That's the hardest tibialis posterior activation progression I have in my arsenal. Any athlete who comes to me with any sign of foot, ankle, or lower extremity dysfunction, that's anybody with feet turn out, feet flat, knees cave, in that overhead squat assessment, anybody who's lacking dorsiflexion, anybody who has that functional flat foot or pes planus, those individuals who, as soon as they take shoes off, step barefoot, you watch the medial longitudinal arch collapse, their goal, this exercise. In fact, not just this exercise. I want to see 20 reps at a 4-2-2 count. That's eccentric, isometric, concentric. So we're really focused on that eccentric deceleration before every lower extremity workout. That's part of their corrective exercise program, integrated warm-up, movement prep, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I'm going to take this one step farther. Forget just my athletes. I want to see how many of you can maintain 20 repetitions at a 4-2-2 count with perfect form. Toes up, glutes tight, quads tight. No speeding up the tempo to get through the set faster. I look forward to hearing about your outcomes. I look forward to seeing how this exercise affects you personally. Can't wait to see you guys send me those videos of proof of you doing this exercise. Hope you enjoyed.